But do you think there's something deeper about AI in his dreams and aspirations as compared to chemical engineering and
No.
electrical engineering?
Well, the dreams and aspirations maybe, but those are 500 years from now.
Right.
I think we have no clue how the brain does computation. We just are clueless. We're even worse than the Greeks on most anything interesting scientifically of our era.
Can you linger on that just for a moment, because you stand not completely unique, but a little bit unique in the clarity of that. Can you elaborate your intuition of why where we stand in our understanding of the human brain? And a lot of people say, scientists say, we're not very far in understanding the human brain, but you're saying we're in the dark here.
Well, I know I'm not unique. I don't even think in the clarity, but if you talk to real neuroscientists that really study real synapses or real neurons, they agree. They agree. It's a hundreds of year task, and they're building it up slowly and surely. What the signal is there is not clear. We think we have all of our metaphors. We think it's electrical, maybe it's chemical. It's a whole soup. It's ions and proteins, and it's a cell, and that's even around like a single synapse. If you look at a electron micrograph of a single synapse, it's a city of its own, and that's one little thing on a dendritic tree, which is extremely complicated, electrochemical thing. And it's doing these spikes and voltages are even flying around, and then proteins are taking that and taking it down into the DNA and who knows what. So it is the problem of the next few centuries. It is fantastic. But we have our metaphors about it. Is it an economic device? Is it like the immune system? Or is it like a layered, set of arithmetic computations? We have all these metaphors, and they're fun. But that's not real science per se. There is neuroscience. That's not neuroscience. All right, that's like the Greeks speculating about how to get to the moon. Fun, right? And I think that I like to say this fairly strongly because I think a lot of young people think we're on the verge. Because a lot of people who don't talk about it clearly let it be understood that yes, this is brain inspired. We're kind of close. Breakthroughs are on the horizon. And unscrupulous people sometimes who need money for their labs. That's not even say unscrupulous, but people will oversell. I need money for my lab. I'm studying, computational neuroscience. I'm gonna oversell it, and so there's been too much of that.
So let's step into the gray area between metaphor and engineering. With I'm not sure if you're familiar with brain-computer interfaces. So a company like Elon Musk has Neuralink that's working on putting electrodes into the brain and trying to be able to both read and send electrical signals. Just as you said, even the basic mechanism of communication in the brain is not something we understand. But do you hope, without understanding the fundamental principles of how the brain works, we'll be able to do something interesting at that gray area of metaphor?
It's not my area. So I hope in the sense like anybody else hopes for some interesting things to happen from research. I would expect more something like Alzheimer's will get figured out from modern neuroscience. That, there's a lot of human suffering based on brain disease. And we throw things like lithium at the brain. It kind of works. No one has a clue why. That's not quite true, but mostly we don't know. And that's even just about the biochemistry of the brain and how it leads to mood swings and so on. How thought emerges from that, we were really, really completely dim. So that you might want to hook up electrodes and try to do some signal processing on that and try to find patterns. Fine, by all means, go for it. It's just not scientific at this point. It's like kind of sitting in a satellite and watching the emissions from a city and trying to infer things about the microeconomy, even though you don't have microeconomic concepts. I mean, it's really that kind of thing. And so, yes, can you find some signals that do something interesting or useful? Can you control a cursor or mouse with your brain? Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine business models based on that, and even, medical applications of that. But from there to understanding algorithms that allow us to really tie in deeply from the brain to the computer, I don't agree with Elon Musk. I don't think that's not for our generation. It's not even for this century.
So just in the hopes of getting you to dream, you've mentioned Kolmogorov and Turing might pop up. Do you think that there might be breakthroughs that will get you to sit back in 5-10 years and say, wow?
Oh, I'm sure there will be, but I don't think that there'll be demos that impress me. I don't think that having a computer call a restaurant and pretend to be a human is breakthrough.
Right.
And people, some people present it as such. It's imitating human intelligence. It's even putting coughs
Yeah.
in the thing to make a bit of a PR stunt. And so, fine, that the world runs on those things too. And I don't want to diminish all the hard work and engineering that goes behind things like that, and the ultimate value to the human race. But that's not scientific understanding. And I know the people that work on these things, they are after scientific understanding. In the meantime, they've got to kind of, the train's got to run, and they got mouths to feed, and they got things to do. And there's nothing wrong with all that. I would call that, though, just engineering. And I want to distinguish that between an engineering field like electrical engineering, chemical engineering, that originally emerged, that had real principles, and you really knew what you're doing, and you had a little scientific understanding, maybe not even complete. So it became more predictable, and it really gave value to human life because it was understood.